It's not a fairy tale here. It is a narrative concerning hunger, remorse, and unfulfilled promises, and the tenuous opportunity to create. Correct? A mother in need knocked on a stranger's home, pleading for cleaning floors in return for nourishment for her ailing body. Daughter, however, destiny had other ideas. There was no ordinary man behind that door. Her child was born to him. The individual who disappeared from her life 12 years ago, long time ago. You will be devastated by this tale and fix it once more, piece by piece, because the past can occasionally resurface when we never anticipate it, and occasionally a knock starts the healing process. Remain with us, as this is not merely a tale about reunion, it's about love and redemption, the sort of second opportunity that only life offers. It has the ability to write. The sun poured in the morning through the windows from floor to ceiling of the Whitmore property, soaking the soft golden light on a marble floor. 2. The day was ideal for the outer world. Clear skies, a cool breeze, the type of the dawn that begs for garden and laughing walks. However, within the mansion, Michael Whitmore was motionless as he faced He had constructed stillness one block at a time. The images of Victoria, his late wife, softly looped on the digital frame. Above the chilly hearth, her grin, her grace, her legacy. 3 had passed. She passed away years ago, and it's not even time. Dared to return to this house. Michael was not lamenting Victoria in a masculine way. Finds a soulmate. He didn't see her in how a captain may overlook his first officer. She was his social ally, and the woman who had assisted him, Compass, turned into Whitmore Global's spokesperson. Holdings. However, she wasn't the specter that genuinely troubled him. It was the right place to another individual, someone he had abandoned, back in a dusty Texas town ages ago, known as Cedar Springs, in a sun that burnt more deeply than this New England light never could. Claire was her name. Bennett, Claire, with long, dark hair, in that careless chuckle. Once, they had, young and broke, they sat by the riverbank, consuming a warm beverage while daydreaming about their lives are too enormous for their budgets. When he went to Boston for college on a scholarship, he had committed to coming back for her. Additionally, he had sworn it on his Zeke, her middle name, which she called only him. Promises, however, are brittle. He was completely absorbed by city life, and in the middle of spreadsheets, and he lost her in the boardroom, or more. To be honest, he abandoned her. The doorbell roused him from his memories. It rang hard once, and then once more. He scowled. Margarita owned it, the housekeeper who had stayed the day off, devoted to Victoria to the end of her life. He'd dismiss whoever was at the door. Swiftly, he walked down the corridor, tugged. The hefty front doors opened, and for it, he was blinded by the midday sun. Next, time collapsed as his eyes adjusted. A woman was standing there, her shoulders, her pallid face, slumped down from fatigue, and burned by the sun, although her clothing was clean, faded as though she had cleaned them in a sink. Too frequently, she had her hair pulled back, hurriedly, and a young girl, perhaps 8 years, clung to her leg. Aged, the youngster's eyes were wide, terrified, and concealed behind her, a shadow on the mother's frame. Michael's, his breath caught in his throat. She was the one, in a sense, Claire, older, thinner, and exhausted, that caused a sensation deep within his chest. Pain, but it was definitely Claire. And she didn't know who he was. Good afternoon, sir, she began in a courteous but uncooked. I apologize for troubling you. My name is Claire Bennett. I was with my daughter while going through a very challenging period. I'm only requesting a chance, not money, any type of job. I am capable of cooking, cleaning, garden. I only need food, not a paycheck, and a secure sleeping area for her. Tonight, she raised her head and made eye contact, and she was still unable to see him. Michael was speechless. He had ordered acquisitions worth billions of dollars with a single phrase persuaded international boards with a eyebrow lifted, but now the words revealed. His thoughts cried out her name, but his throat was icy. Claire went on, proud but needy. Your home is so big. I thought, perhaps you'll need, I'll do whatever to help. But I just don't wish for her to sleep hungry once more. Michael gazed at the young girl, was petite, delicate, and her eyes, he noticed the same gray-blue color in the mirror each morning. The identical form, his knees almost gave way under the same fire. She was more than just Claw's kid. He had departed from Claire 9 years prior. The math was cruel, and the girl was 8. Unquestionable. Claire. At last, he muttered, his voice is breaking like a piece of dried wood. Zeke, it's me. She blinked, perplexed. Then, gradually, something changed within her expression. She stared at his longer face. She peered past this hairstyle, the sharply shaven jaw, the linen shirt, which was more expensive than her monthly rent. She narrowed her eyes. She cocked her head like she was pulling bits from an unwelcome dream that recall. No, she said, trembling. Her head, no, that isn't possible. She staggered back, holding on to her. I was unaware that she had a daughter to her chest. Was that you? She stumbled. I'm not sure. If I had God, I wouldn't have come. But, Lily, the girl, raised her head at the tension-filled sound, her small face bewildered, gaze flitting between an adult and the way. Then Michael noticed it once more, his own childlike eyes staring back at him. At that same moment, the empire he established, the money he sought, the reputation he polished for the world, but it didn't mean anything, nothing, especially after his child had been famished and afraid somewhere while he resided behind glass and marble walls. Claire turned to leave panic in the windows. We'll go, she said under her breath. I didn't mean, as well, this was an error. No, he replied, swiftly, advancing, his voice abruptly firm. Avoid leaving. Please, she said, shaking. She halted. She needs water. She appears worn out. Simply come inside for. Claire remained silent. But when Lily, Mommy, my stomach hurts, she whispered. Her whole body fell apart. She nodded. Michael moved aside without saying anything. As soon as they stepped into the opulent lobby, they seemed to be brushed by spirits. Their footsteps reverberated off of shiny. Claire held Lily's hand like a stone. It served as the sole authentic anchor. Michael guided them into the living room, gestured toward the couch in the room. Please, after hesitating, she sat down, stiffly, as if anticipating a trap, to spring. He muttered, I'll get water, running like a man to the kitchen, fleeing from oneself. When he came back, his hands were shaking. He gave Clara, the greatest thing he could do was have a glass of milk. Consider, she shook as she accepted it. Fingers and assisted Lily in drinking. The young girl swallowed it as if it were. Michael's heart broke as he saw the wealth. Claire didn't survey the opulent room. She continued to look at her kid. Michael sat opposite her, uncertain about what to say. At last, she raised her head and her steady voice sounded like a sword, yet chilly. You weren't the reason I came here. I was merely unaware that you lived here. Attempting to feed her. I am aware that he. She got up and muttered, I believe you, tidying up her old gown. This doesn't make any changes. You departed. You never returned. I reared her by myself. There were no justifications, no room for argument. However, once Lily consumed all of the milk, she looked at Michael and gave him a drowsy look. Smile, the sweet expression a youngster has when she feels secure, even for a brief instant. Claire's jaw tensed when she saw it. After that, something shattered behind her eyes. Nor rage, nor sympathy, but fatigue. Sat down once more. She whispered one night, just for her. We spend a night here. Overwhelmed. Michael nodded. Naturally, he glanced at Lily, asking if she needed anything. She snuggled into her mother's arms and yawned. Lap. He wasn't Michael at that time. Zeke was Whitmore, a billionaire. The young man who had previously assured a female by the river that he would always be beside her had betrayed that pledge. He now possessed one opportunity to correct it. Do you think people are capable of changing or making mistakes? Create deep scars. Claire hadn't intended to remain not even for a single night. However, Lily's whimpering stomach, wounded and pressed her flaming face against. Claire had given up fighting for her neck. So, she remained. The morning is now gently filtered through the window of the guest room, cleaning, where Lily was lying on the white bed sheets, laid, sleeping, breathing peacefully at last. Claire took a seat in the chair adjacent to the bed. Still, her head, her back aching, throbbed, yet she was indifferent to it. The girl was cozy, secure, and not coughing was sufficient. She didn't listen to Michael come closer till his voice entered the wide doorway with gentleness. Food and coffee are available if you'd like. When Claire looked at him, he wasn't in this time, no gold watch, no tie, and a suit, only jeans, a sweater, and his voice wavered, but it didn't exist the previous evening. She rose slowly, left the room and shut the door. Behind her in the door, they met in the kitchen was sleek, contemporary, and chilly. He poured her coffee in, and it was great. Quiet and moved the mug over the island. She didn't express gratitude to him. Only, Michael did not sit and sipped slowly. Claire, he started cautiously with the previous night. I'd rather not discuss she interrupted. The only reason I'm here is, I understand that Lily was ill, said, taking a moment. But I must say, something, I was unaware of what I abandoned till I caught sight of her eyes. Claire set eyes. Her eyes. I see it now. Put down the mug. Recognition remains the same. The reality that you left us behind. Her tone was devoid of fury. Only fatigue. That was more severe. I didn't, he responded. No, she exists. If I had, you think that's better. She yelled. Do you believe it makes things simpler? Vanished. Modified your phone number. Name. I tried writing to you. Michael, you walked away without turning around. So I looked back, he muttered. I simply didn't possess the bravery to go back. She didn't. She was unable to respond. because her heart was too filled with old wounds. A quiet noise broke the tension. The sound of a sigh. Lily took a tiny step and stood at the edge of the corridor, still wearing her hair was disheveled, her pajamas were stuffed. She held a bunny in her hand. Claire went straight to her kneeling position. How do you feel? Baby Lily gave a slow nod. Better, Michael observed from a distance. A stirring sensation within him, didn't know what to call it. Claire took Lily, returned to the room, and handed her a tiny bowl of fruit that had appeared out of nowhere on the nightstand. When Claire came back, Michael was waiting in the hallway. A doctor has visited me in the afternoon, he said. Among the greatest pediatricians in the state. I didn't inquire. I understand, he said. But she deserves it, and she needs it. Claire paused. What are you requesting from us? Michael, back then, you didn't want us. Why at this time? Michael turned his head away, then back at her. He spoke in a lower tone. I only want one thing right now, to fulfill my obligations as outlined in the starting. She remained silent, but she also didn't depart. Later the doctor arrived in the afternoon, and he looked. Lily listened to her lungs softly, checked her vitals, and found that she is undernourished. He informed Claire, weak and dehydrated. But there is nothing that cannot be undone with time, food, and attention. Claire closed her eyes, feeling a wave of relief. Michael observed the entire exchange as it was revered. Following the doctor's departure, Claire, you've done enough, Michael said. In the morning, we'll depart. He looked. I hired someone to work at her for a long time. He stated, to ascertain the fate of. I had to know. You? Claire froze. I wasn't spying, he hastily added. I just realized last night when I saw you, how much I had been missing. I couldn't survive. With that quiet no more. He strolled, opened a folder, went to the study, and it was placed on the coffee table. Claire paused, then took a seat. Her gaze. The pages were scanned, rental history and work history, timelines, pictures, and addresses. Her hand stopped when she reached the final page. She whispered, this factory. It was my best job in years. I was fired. Without warning, that's what brought us together. Evicted. What pushed us to the street. Sitting opposite her. Michael's voice, barely audible. That factory was acquired 4 months ago by a textile group. That group is owned by a parent company. That company is under Whitmore Global. Claire stared at him. I signed the approval papers myself. He continued, broken. It was just another acquisition. I never looked at the employee records. I didn't know you were there. Claire shut the folder. It wasn't sufficient for her to abandon us when she whispered. You continued to abandon us and over. You were quite busy constructing you didn't see the destruction. Empire. Behind it, Michael slumped his shoulder. I'll never be able to reverse it. There was silence in the room. Then she said, you always want authority. Well done. You must finally determine whether or not I slept. On the sidewalk or beneath a roof. The words cut like knives through him. He didn't turn his head. Though, she got to her feet. I forgive you, but I'm not staying, I said. She said, I will remain because Lily requires medication and food, and I'm not going anywhere. Until she recovers. Michael gave a nod. I only ask that. She stopped at the hallway, without looking back. Additionally, don't try to purchase my love or hers. Then she started to walk away. Michael sat in the study by himself. Her pain is etched on the folder that is still open. Into each page. He examined the last picture, a blurry picture of Claire moving, Lily to an entrance of a refuge amid torrential rain. He lightly caressed it as though the paper itself sensed his remorse. 12. He fled from the only person years ago who ever cherished him for his true self. Now, he would dedicate each day to demonstrating to the daughter who was unaware of his name that he was deserving of another shot. If your life was ruined by someone accidentally, would you allow them to remain for a child's sake? Do you think that individuals can actually alter after understanding the harm they inflicted? Claire was unaware when the barriers she erected around herself. My heart started to break. Perhaps it was that she saw Michael for the first time. Lily slumbers from the corridor. His gaze, wet with remorse. He never spoke out loud. Or he prepared pancakes in the morning that were shaped like burned and distorted stars that grin. When Lily still laughed. Or the silence. The moment he stood next to him in the kitchen, to her, and remained silent. Simply gave her a hot cup of tea in the manner that someone, when they're not attempting to help you, simply to let you know that I'm still. Lily was recuperating here, slowly, but, of course, her cheeks became more round. Raise your voice. She sprinted across in bare feet, the well-kept grass as if it were her first, authentic taste of youth. Her chuckle, bright, high, unfiltered, and reverberated downward. The marble hallways that were formerly quiet as a museum. The mansion started to feel less like a success monument, more like to a house. Michael didn't inquire, seeking pardon. He gained it by inch. He ceased making financial offers and began to give time. He didn't smother Lily with presents, even though they arrived. Carefully and considerately, he concentrated on appearing. He read her stories before bed. He mastered the messy art of braiding her hair. Initially, he allowed her to sketch in his office, crayon on a whiteboard. He informed her of stars and dinosaurs. Additionally, when asked if he thought magic existed, he replied, "I didn't. However, I later encountered you." The gap grew closer with Claire. With caution, they ceased talking, centered entirely on logistics, meals, medication schedules, and started to strive for the things that were important. He inquired about her artwork. She inquired about his apologies. They weren't acting like they were once. That version was no longer alive, long time ago, but there was something better being recreated from the ashes of their former selves. Claire happened to wander into. Michael had subtly changed the room into a studio for art. He had filled it with paint tubes, canvases, and brushes in all the colors you can think of. She hadn't held a brush for years. The strike was tentative and wavering. The second more assured, after which she painted each day. Over cedar, she painted the sun. Springs. On a swing, she painted Lily. Instead of the wealthy, she depicted Michael in news reports, but the individual who knelt in the soil for his daisy plants, son who stood outside in the rain without an umbrella as Lily found the sound appealing. Of it, she discovered a canvas stowed away one day, in the corner, in unsteady strokes on it. "I can't change the," Michael had written, "past, but I have the option to select the future if you'll allow me to participate." That evening, she sat on the porch next to him and observed the flickering lawn lights and the separation. She remarked, "You were right," gently, "although the past is a shadow. Lily, she is the sun." He looked around. His eyes flickered with cautious hope. Claire gave a small smile. "You're trying, too. I see it." He didn't answer. He simply snatched her hand. She didn't tug away. The seasons changed. Lily developed, more powerful. Life blossomed in the house. Claire's artwork was chosen for a regional display. Michael started assigning more tasks, late at night at Whitmore Global Trading, meetings of the school pickup board, and music for bedtime. The family they belonged to. The building was unlike any other, and it wasn't necessary. On a clear autumn day afternoon, precisely 1 year following Claire's, had come to knock on his door. She sounded desperate. And there was a youngster in. Michael held her in his arms and took her to the garden in the backyard. Since then, everything had changed. That day, wildflowers bloomed. The old oak tree had a swing hanging from it, and Lily was standing beneath that tree. She held a tiny velvet box. Claire's. Before she even opened it, her eyes were full. There was a simple, unobtrusive ring inside. Elaborate, a straightforward platinum band with one sapphire. Precisely the color of Lily's gaze. Michael positioned himself behind his daughter, his tone just a bit higher than a murmur. "You can't have a perfect man from me, or an impeccable past, but I can provide. This is for you, a family, a home, and a future where nobody flees and nobody remains behind." Claire suppressed her tears. Next, she extended her hand and touched it, up against his cheek. "This time," she stated, "you returned." And they didn't toss a kipata. Lavish wedding that didn't make the news, any expensive dresses, just a low-key ceremony. Claire was wearing a pastel outfit beneath the oak tree. Lily threw flower petals in her blue dress and laughed the whole time. When Michael spoke his vows, he made no promises. Perfection. He pledged love, presence. Something endures. In the years that subsequently, they produced a life stitched, woven from strands of happiness and grief, of intense suffering and more profound forgiveness. Although each day was simple, each day was theirs. Occasionally, on calm nights, when gold was formed by the sun melting across Michael would sit on the porch in the garden, Lily dancing as Claire painted, in the grass, and he would consider it odd. That's when the knock on the door began. From despair had turned into the start of everything he was unaware of. He didn't need another chance at love, but an initial opportunity to be entire. You think that shattered individuals can still create a lovely life together. Has anybody ever come back into your life, precisely when you needed them most? If you were moved by this conclusion, thank you for seeing. Leave a remark below. We apologize for the disruption. However, we hope you will assist us in enhancing our content in the future.